Hey everyone, welcome to the Seeds of Success podcast, hosted by Dottie San Martin and myself, Orly Rivera. This show is your weekly dose of knowledge, insights, and actionable tips to transform centers into striking successes. Whether you're a seasoned industry professional or just stepping onto the lanes, we've got you covered. Dottie, how are you doing today?
Hi, Orly. I'm great. You know, last week after our podcast, man, my wheels were turning. Yeah, I know. You could probably see the smoke, right? Anyway, the topic of experiences just it excited me, and so today let's get a little bit deeper into that. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, last week, if you haven't listened to that show, it was called Step Into the Experience, and we covered just experiences that businesses are doing. You know, they're not just doing your traditional business; they're bringing an experience to it. And you know, Dottie and myself could talk for hours on any subject, you know, but sometimes that little bell's going off or they're rushing us off the stage. So after we got off the show last week, we were like, we could have talked about so much more about that. So we're like, okay, part two, kind of like a movie, right? Part two.
Absolutely. Part two. And you know, one of the things that we brought out for those of you that did not listen yet to last week's podcast, as Orly said, I highly recommend you go back and listen to it. But one of the things that we brought out is, you know, our customers today want to feel like they're part of that experience. They want to feel like it's very personal to them, that they have choices, and that they are really a part of that story, a part of that experience, that they're being immersed in that experience, right? And so, you know, as you said, Orly, after last week, it was like, wait a minute, but I still want to talk about this subject, because if you think about it, experiences are everywhere. And you said something last week about when you were in Nashville and your children went to the Goo Goo factory and they got the opportunity to create their very own candy.
Yeah.
And we talked about, you know, as a dad, that was something that you were looking at the experience that it was going to give and the joy and the memory that you were going to provide the child. It's not about the candy necessarily, but it was about that whole experience, right? And the cost of that experience was secondary to you. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I didn't even worry about that. I feel like with any kind of event we've taken our kids to, or a certain place, you know, it's not always about bringing something home, but sometimes when you are able to bring something, like they were able to take that candy home with them after they made it, you know, after they got to pick everything that went in it. And that's always so cool when you say, oh, and they also got to leave with this, or they also came home with a shirt, or they also came home. Like, that's always a cool experience, because that's something they're going to remember forever.
Yeah. Well, plus, you know, as you and I've talked many times before, when you are delivering amazing experiences where you're allowing the customer to make choices or to be a part of it, be it that they're up on the, you know, the big screen, the LED wall with their picture. Of course, we already have established many times that people love seeing their faces. They love hearing their names, right? And when you can put them in that experience, they want to go back more often to that particular location, right? And that starts to build that loyalty. And that's where, you know, it's really great if you've got that type of following and you've got people that are coming in time and time again because you offer amazing experiences. Make sure you do have that swag, right? Make sure you do have hats or t-shirts or something available. They're proud that that's their home. That's their place, right?
Yeah.
No different than me. The very first, you know, you're either a Coke or a Pepsi fan, right? Nothing against Pepsi, but I happen to be a Coca-Cola fan, and anything that I can get that's branded, I love it, right? But, you know, even Coca-Cola has experiences with their fountains now. And this isn't something new. I thought it was so cool when you're able to go in and choose what you want your drink to taste like. That's an experience. And you know what? Doesn't matter to me what it costs. I enjoy that experience of being able to have my drink like I want it. Right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And you know, now, like, once we got off the show, we started thinking of all these places that were doing it that we could have brought up. I just thought of another one. I went to one year, the MLB All-Star game was in the city I lived in, but the day before the game, there was the MLB fan experience. And, you know, it was a fan fest. I went to it. It was the coolest thing. They put you, like, for instance, there was a fence, like a piece of the fence from a game. And then there was a step on that fence. So you got to stand up on it and then put your hand over the fence, kind of like you're robbing a ball. And they took your photo. You got to pick a jersey to put on while you're taking your photo. And there was just all these different things. Like you said, people like to see their face on things. There was things that would put you, you would stand at a camera, it would point at you, and then it put you like on a field. And there was just all these things. And I had a blast. And again, I mean, this has been over 10 years probably. And again, I didn't forget. That's something that stuck with me forever. Yeah, there's all these places that are doing that. And it's definitely worth the money. Like you said, it's secondary, even thinking about the price. With Build-A-Bear, you see kids doing that. When you first walk in there, you're like, oh wow, a kid gets to build their own teddy bear. You're not really thinking about the price, or you do see it and you're like, okay, but yeah, they get to build it themselves and they get to take it home. So let's do it.
Yes, absolutely. And there are so many companies that do it well, that are not just delivering. We are in the entertainment business. Specifically, we are in the bowling business, right? And our listeners, if you can deliver more than just offer your customers a game of bowling, if you're just offering your customers a game of bowling and a pair of shoes, then that's what they're going to expect to pay. But if you think through and you offer an experience, then people are willing to pay for that. But you need to make sure you think through that. And an experience starts from before they ever get in the door. And I think we mentioned this on the last week's podcast. Even with your marketing material, make sure that you're taking them into that story and showing them what that experience is going to be. But then also making sure that your staff is delivering on that experience. So again, if call them by name, make sure that they are completely aware of everything that they can do to customize their experience when they come into your bowling center. And again, it at that point, the experience dictates the price. So if you want to just offer bowling and you want to offer, discounted bowling to drive your people into your bowling center, then your customer is going to expect discounted bowling time and time again. If you want to be able to offer experiences, well thought out experiences, then your customer won't expect to pay 99 cents for an experience. They know, because the precedent has already been set by companies like Disney and, Build-A-Bear and, places like, look at American Girl, for example. You can have an American Girl experience. And what little girl doesn't want to have that experience where you go dine and you have your hair done and all of that, and parents are willing to pay for it.
Yeah, I've had that firsthand. In the bowling center, I've had a customer come in. It was their first time there. They just had a blast. We made the experience fun for them. When somebody's new, I've mentioned this many times where I've said, have you been here before? If they say no, I change it up. Okay, let me show you down here what we exactly do. All these different games that you can play. Your kids could, there's U-tunes and they could put their faces up on the screen. And then this family finished up. And she was like, do you guys do birthday parties here? And I said, we do. And she says, my kids had such a blast. We have a birthday party in a couple months. Is it possible to already book? I said, yeah. And then I said, so the way it works, she's like, we're going to have like this many kids. And I'm like, okay. I was like, so here's some of the different packages we have. I'm like, for this many kids, she goes, I said, and then she goes, it doesn't matter. I'm not really worried about that. She goes, as long as it's for 20 kids, just put us down and she's like, I'm not really worried about the price or anything. She didn't, who knows? I could have said it's thousands of dollars. She was just ready to go. She didn't care. She had such a blast. The kids had such a blast. The price was, like you said, was secondary. It wasn't even a worry. It was like, no, just put us down. We want to have a party here.
Right. Absolutely. So, that's such a good point. And again, I want to challenge our listeners. There's many of you that deliver amazing experiences. I've been a witness to them myself. I've gone into your centers and the experience is phenomenal. For those of you that aren't, that are still delivering on a game of bowling, or just renting a lane to the customer, and that's it. Think about it. Think about changing. Think about delivering experiences. Think about letting your customer be a part of that story. Think about how you can start that experience from the time they walk into the door or before they walk into the door with your marketing material, all the way through them leaving your facility and delivering experiences that they walk out your door just completely mesmerized of the memory that they have of that experience. Those are the things that you can charge for. If you want to deliver just bowling and just a game of bowling, and you want to continue thinking the only way to drive business to your center is to lower the price, then that is going to be the expectation of the customers from that point forward. They're going to hold out. They're going to wait. If I hold out just a little bit, if I go next week, they're probably going to run that dollar bowling night or whatever. So don't get caught in that trap. Deliver on an experience that the customers these days are demanding. This is what they want. They want to be able to have these experiences. They're willing to pay for these experiences. Make sure that you have the staffing, the technology, the products that you need, and the creativity to deliver those kinds of experiences. And I can tell you what, your cash register will thank you for it. Right?
Yeah. And I'm guilty of what you were kind of talking about there. And it's not that I'm cheap, I'm thrifty at times, but if I think about it now, there's been plenty of times where I've talked about a place where I'm like, oh, I used to take the kids there because they used to offer on Tuesdays, this low price, but they don't offer anymore. So we really haven't been back. So that, I probably would have took them for regular price, but the fact that I got used to that cheap price and they stopped doing it, I stopped going. You know what I mean? So
you were just getting the product. You weren't getting an experience.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm saying. If think about it, the experience that you're delivering to your customers, and make sure that you are allowing them to be a part of it. Let them be in your story. They are your customer, and then they will become your biggest advocate for repeat business. They're going to share that experience with everybody. And then everybody else is going to want to be your customer too.
Exactly.
Right? So yeah, experiences is just so fun. And the more you think about it, the more you can just keep adding little things to that experience to just take it over the top and make it a little bit different each time that the companies, that the groups come into your business. And now with technology, even the products themselves can change that experience each time for the customer. So just amazing, and the potential that your business has when you deliver experiences versus delivering just a game of bowling.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much, listeners, for being a part of today's episode of Seeds of Success. With decades of industry experience, we're honored to share some of these ideas, strategies, and trends designed to help entertainment centers like yours thrive and grow. Together, we're planting the seeds for a stronger, more successful future. Share this podcast with your team and industry friends, because the more seeds we sow, the greater the harvest. Until next time, let's continue to build success, one happy guest and one incredible, amazing experience at a time.